very helpful to have somebody clarify. She didn't see it that way. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Salem. I am the Reverend Monica Jacobson. I use she, her pronouns, and I serve this congregation as minister. I am so glad, we are so glad that you are here in the sanctuary, that you are joining us online, that you're still coming in if you're still coming in. Every single Sunday that you choose to be part of this community, you help us co-create this gathering of people with a vision of a world of more love and justice, and the commitment to live into that vision and make our world even a little bit better with our lives. So thank you for choosing to be here, for choosing to gather. Leading worship with me today are Brennan Norval as celebrant, Conrad Rolliter from our Stewardship Team, Molly Brown, our Director of Religious Education. Rhonda Holt is our Lifelines lay minister. Our music director, Grace Curran, is leading our songs. Lori Ann Schmidt is on the piano. Corin Navarez is at the tech table. And Doc Hadley made our slides. It is always an act of co-creation when we gather for a worship service. We come together as a community of seekers, each and every one of us carrying questions, searching for wisdom and inspiration to help us live lives of meaning. We come together to wonder at life's gifts and express our gratitude, and to grieve together in life's hardships, to comfort each other when things are sad or frightening. And we gather to be of service, to give and receive care, to help each other to learn and grow and keep becoming the people we know we will be. You are welcome here today exactly as you are. That means whomever you love, whatever beliefs sustain you, whether you'd like to stand up on a chair during worship so you can see better, or whether you are happy sitting down. If you are a particularly tall person who wishes to stand on a chair, please do it in the back of the sanctuary. If you're a short one, stand on whatever chair you want. And you are welcome here in every way. You are still becoming the person you will be. Everything you are discovering about yourself, every growth spurt you are yet to have, whether physical or spiritual, you are welcome here. And your presence is needed to make this community once again. So let us take a good deep breath. Feel the air come in and fill your body. Feel it go out. Let yourself know that you are here in this time, in this gathering. You don't have to be anywhere else for the next hour or so as we worship together. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to rise in body and voice or in spirit, but first I want to tell you something about our gathering hymn. It is a new song. Don't be freaked out. The chorus is very catchy, so if nothing else, you can just listen on the verses and sing the chorus. It's called This Boat, and it was written by Laura Zucker, who is a member of the house band at the UU Church in Walnut Creek, California. She says this about the song. This song was inspired by the work of Viktor Frankl on happiness and meaning in our lives. When we commit to a community of any kind, our fates and fortunes rise and fall together. So in that spirit of commitment, please rise in whatever way is right for you to join in singing This Boat.
Good morning. As Monica said, it's a new song. I'm going to sing your chorus once. Feel free to join when you're ready. And then we'll sing the chorus again and get into the verses. This boat is steady. This boat is sure. When you're ready, climb aboard. When you're ready, grab an oar. This boat will carry us to the farthest shore. And again, this boat is steady. This boat is sure. When you're ready, climb aboard. When you're ready, grab an oar. This boat will carry us to the farthest shore. We all know hardship. We all know pain. But nothing ventured means nothing gained. And every rainbow needs the rain. You're not alone, try again. This boat is steady. This boat is sure. When you're ready, climb aboard. When you're ready, grab an oar. This boat will carry us through the farthest shore. Even if you've been tempted, lost, even if you feel that all is lost, you've heard the thunder roar, had a look at heaven's door. If you're sinking like a stone, this boat will carry you home. This boat is steady. This boat is sure. When you're ready, climb aboard. When you're ready, grab an oar. This boat will carry us to the farthest shore. In this boat, there's nothing we can do together, no matter the weather, no matter that the charts aren't ours, we will navigate by our stars. This boat is heavy. This boat is sure. When you're ready, climb aboard. When you're ready, grab an oar. This boat will carry us to the... One more time. This boat is steady. This boat is sure. When you're ready, climb aboard. When you're ready, grab an oar. This boat will carry us to the farthest shore.
We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into one another's faces and see there communion, the reflection of our own eyes. This house of laughter and silence, memory and hope, is hallowed by our presence together. Now, if you will please join me together as we recite our affirmation together. Love is our doctrine. Compassion is our way. Here we seek to create a joyful home for free religious exploration, build a community of caring fellowship, nurture the hopes, and serve the needs of our world. May this flame we light remind us that every one of us can bring the light of love into the world. May this clear flame be a symbol that every heart can burn bright with joy, peace, and harmony. May the wisdom of ages speak to us through this flame and stay in us. Every one of us can be a blessing to the world. Each week, we light 3 chalices. The first is for all of us here, our family and friends, near and far. We are the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Salem. We light our second chalice for our brothers and sisters in our partner church in Szymon-Falva, Transylvania. And we light our third chalice for our children and youth in lifespan religious education and in our world at large. Please join me in singing the flames into life.
Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy.
Morning. Hi. Can everybody young or young at heart please join me up front? I got a good story today. Awesome. Come on up. We also are going to have the pictures up behind me to follow along. Who here has heard of stone soup? Raise your hand. This is a good one. All right. This was written in 1968 by Anne McGovern. A young man was walking. He walked and walked. He walked all night, and he walked all day. He was tired, and he was hungry. At last, he came to a big house. What a fine house, he said. There will be plenty of food for me there. He knocked on the door. A little old lady opened it. Good lady, said the young man, I am very hungry. Can you give me something to eat? I have nothing to give you, said the little old lady. I have nothing in the house. I have nothing in the garden. And she began to close the door. Stop, said the young man. If you will not give me something to eat, will you give me a stone? A stone, said the little old lady. What will you do with a stone? You cannot eat a stone. Ah, said the young man, I can make soup from a stone. Now the little old lady had never heard of that. Make soup from a stone? Fancy that. There are stones in the road, said the little old lady. The young man picked up a round gray stone. This stone will make wonderful soup, he said. Now get me a pot. The little old lady got a pot. Fill the pot with water and put it on the fire, the young man said. The little old lady did as she was told. and soon the water was bubbling in the pot. The young man put the round gray stone into the pot. Now we will wait for the stone to cook into soup, he said. The pot bubbled and bubbled. After a while, the little old lady said, "This soup is cooking fast." "It is cooking fast now," said the hungry young man. "But it would cook faster with some onions." So the little old lady went to the garden to get some yellow onions. Into the pot went the yellow onions with the round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said the little old lady. "Fancy that." The pot bubbled and bubbled. After a while, the little old lady said, "This soup smells good." "It smells good now," said the hungry young man, "but it would smell better with some carrots." So the little old lady went out to the garden and pulled up all the carrots she could carry. Into the pot with the long, thin carrots, with the yellow onions and the round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said the little old lady. "Fancy that." The pot bubbled and bubbled. After a while, the little old lady said, "Ooh, the soup tastes good." "It tastes good now," said the hungry young man, "but it would taste better with beef bones." So the little old lady went to get some juicy beef bones. Into the pot went the juicy beef bones and the long thin carrots and the yellow onions and the round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said the little old lady. "Fancy that." The pot bubbled and bubbled. After a while, the little old lady said, "This soup is fit for a prince." "It is fit for a prince now," said the hungry young man, "but it would be fit for a king with a bit of pepper and a handful of salt." So the little old lady got the pepper and the salt. Into the pot went the bit of pepper and the handful of salt with the juicy beef bones and the long thin carrots and the yellow onions and the round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said the little old lady. "Fancy that." The pot bubbled and bubbled. After a while, the little old lady said, "This soup is too thin." "It is too thin now," said the hungry young man, "but it would be nice and thick with some butter and barley." So the little old lady went to get butter and barley. Into the pot went the butter and barley with the bit of pepper and the handful of salt and the juicy beef bones and the long thin carrots and the yellow onions and the round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said the little old lady. "Fancy that." The pot bubbled and bubbled. After a while, the little old lady tasted the soup again. "That is good soup," she said. "Yes," said the hungry young man, "this soup is fit for a king. Now we will eat it." "Stop," said the little old lady. "This soup is indeed fit for a king. Now I will set a table fit for a king." So she took out her best tablecloth and her best dishes. Then the little old lady and the hungry young man ate all the soup. The soup made with the butter and barley and the bit of pepper and the handful of salt and the juicy beef bones and the long thin carrots and the yellow onions and the round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said the little old lady. "Fancy that." "Now I must be on my way," said the young man. He took the stone out of the pot and put it into his pocket. "Why are you taking the stone?" said the little old lady. "Well," said the young man, "the stone is not cooked enough. I will have to cook it some more tomorrow." And the young man said goodbye. He walked on down the road. He walked and walked. "What a fine supper I will have tomorrow," he said to himself. "Soup from a stone. Fancy that." All right, if you can stand up in the center and create the love arch, we will be on our way. Thank you.
The lyrics you may notice. So the verb go is in there now, where previously the word walk was in there. The composer of this piece, Jennifer Pratt Walter, is a member of a UU congregation up in the Portland area and worked with them on this change. So we're going to give it a try here too. Wherever you go, go in love, because there's a lot of ways to go.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Slides in the back. Slides in the back. So today's reflection comes from the pledge committee, the stewardship team, where we're talking about what is pledging, and I wanted to just share some of the things that I've learned in the last few years being here that maybe weren't intuitive when I first showed up. And I was like, maybe others want to learn in that too. So when we talk about this concept of pledging, we also know that there's actually two pieces. One of which is there's actually a census piece that takes place as part of this. This was something actually I really didn't understand. And the other half is, of course, the money, the fundraising, and both of these kind of break into their own little pieces. So I was like, yeah, let's kind of break that apart briefly. If we look at what's actually in the census part, though, there's really two elements to what's going on. There is an understanding that some people that pledge are, in fact, members. And at the same time, some of those pledges are just pledges, meaning that there are people who will pledge who will not claim membership. And this, again, was some of that nuance that I said, I did not expect to learn about that. There are people in our community that love what we do, that want to be part of the larger UU community, the mission, but do not claim membership. And so as we think about this in this season, remember that there are those people present here as well. So let's keep going. So as we kind of come back and we say, yes, okay, we've learned a little bit more about census and we've learned a little bit more about what's going into pledging in general, let's dive into the fundraising element briefly, because there's a lot that goes on here, potentially. Let's keep going. So we know that there's really two different time domains. There's what happened in the past, that's our generational stuff that we're inheriting. And then there's what can we do today, present. And I really think of this in three buckets. Can we give of our time? Can we give of our talent? Can we give of our treasure? And what we know about this organization specifically is that we've inherited quite a bit of generational wealth. Something's out of order here. But the point is that we have inherited quite a bit of time and talent. And there has been a fair amount of treasure, but we do not have generational treasure in the way that other organizations do. There's no nest egg that when we have a dry year, we just dip into that. Most of what we do in this organization is treasure that we talk about in the here and the now. And we know that that's the truth because we also, let's go to the next slide, when we look at the budget, this might be a little hard to see, but on that far left-hand side is the total budget of about $386,000, and the big green bar tells us that is money that we need to raise on a consistent yearly basis to make things happen. And you can see that's the lion's share. Okay. Other organizations, maybe you've come from other Protestant denominations or whatever, they can always just petition the big guys upstairs who have a lot of money and be like, we need a huge cash infusion and stay afloat. That's not how things work here. And so recognizing that everything we do in fundraising comes from mutual aid and from an understanding that the here and the now is what matters. That's part of what informs how we think about pledging and how we can begin to have smarter and more sane conversations through this season. So, thank you.
We know that when we gather to co-create this community, we gather all kinds of things. We gather our time, our talent, our treasure, and our resources. And we also gather the reality of what is happening in our lives. We make the choice to trust each other with the truths that we share and the questions that we have. So I'm thankful to Conrad for giving us some of the information that maybe if you have questions looming in your mind about what does fundraising look like in this congregation, hopefully that helps to give you some grounding for this conversation we are embarking upon over the next month. And now I want to turn the pulpit over to Rhonda Holt, who's going to share some of the other things that we bring together, the joys and the sorrows of our living.
Good morning. I'm Rhonda Holt. I'm honored to be one of your Lifeline's lay ministers. Lifeline lay ministers are members of this congregation who are here to help people in times of need. We can be identified by our lavender stoles and name badges. You can reach out to us by using the contact information in the order of service. Today, our usual table is being used for dining together. So if you would like to speak to one of us, let us know and we'll find a private space to talk. Each week we gather for worship. We share the joys and sorrows of members of this community. We know that joys shared are often magnified as we celebrate together, and sorrows may be lightened as we are reminded that we are not alone. As I read them, we'll light a candle to symbolize the truth that is shared and to remind us that what we hold together brings more of the light of understanding and compassion to us all. Today, we have two sorrows. The first is from Sarah Pickett. My 99-year-old uncle passed away peacefully early this morning. A kind and loving husband, father, minister, professor, writer, and poet. His support of me during this past decade spiritual and with my writing is forever appreciated. The second is from Joan Stembridge. May the light from this candle guide Larry Nassett safely towards the great beyond. And may this light give Sharon comfort as she prepares to lose her beloved companion. And we light one final candle to remind us of the joys and sorrows carried in this community, which remain unspoken in our hearts.
And I want to surprise Rhonda by asking if we can add a candle for Joe Bateman, who turned 104 last month. Thank you for letting me add that. Thank you, Joe, for letting us celebrate. So perhaps you have heard over these past few months about the procession of 19 Buddhist monks and one dog walking and rolling for peace, starting in Texas and ending up in Washington, D.C. Anybody hear about the monks? Yeah, okay. So when they reached Washington, D.C., they were greeted at the cathedral there by the Reverend Marianne Edgar Budd, who is the Bishop of Washington, right? You may remember her because last year she became both famous and infamous because she was leading the inaugural prayer service in January 2025. And with Donald Trump sitting right there, she prayed that he would have mercy on immigrants and on LGBTQ children. When she greeted the monks, Bishop Budd offered the words that are often titled the Prayer of St. Francis. She said, Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is discord, union. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. She said, grant that we may not seek to be consoled as much as to console, not to be understood so much as to understand, not so much to be loved as to love. It is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying to the self that we are born to the greater life. The leader of the monks, the Venerable Bhikkhu Panakara, said, peace is something we've been looking for so long. Peace is something we have been seeking for many years, and yet we still cannot find it. And then, in the true nature of Buddhist monks everywhere, he said, it's been with us. It never left us. It's just that we cannot see it. You have locked it and put it in a box, and you have left it somewhere. You have forgotten it. We are not walking from Fort Worth, Texas to Washington, D.C. to bring you any peace, but to raise the awareness of peace so that you can unlock that box and free it. Let peace bloom and flourish among all of us throughout this nation and this world, so that the world can become a better place for all beings to live. With this example, this embodied teaching of the procession of these monks, let us remember, peace is a journey. It is a quest. It is a constant remembering and unlocking. It is a verb, not a destination, not a static state, but a path that we can choose to travel at any moment. Let us breathe together for a few moments in silence and unlock a little more of that peace which we are always following. As you bring your attention back into this space, may you remain aware of all the places where peace can be unlocked on this journey of our lives. And to help us in that, while remaining seated, please join in singing hymn number 34, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire. The lyrics will be up here or in your gray hymnal.
Though I may speak with bravest heart and have the spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are freed.
This reading is taken from The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist. Money is like water. Money flows through all our lives, sometimes like a rushing river, and sometimes like a trickle. When it is flowing, it can purify, cleanse, create growth, and nourish. But when it is blocked or held too long, it can grow stagnant and toxic to those withholding or hoarding it. Like water, money is a carrier. It can carry blessed energy, possibility, and intention, or it can carry control, domination, and guilt. It can be a current or a currency of love, a conduit for commitment, or a carrier of hurt and harm. We can be flooded with money and drown in its excess. And when we dam it up unnecessarily, we keep it out of circulation to the detriment of others. In this condition of scarcity, money shows up not as a flow, but as an amount, something to collect and hold on to stockpile. We measure our self-worth by our net worth, and only and always more is better. Any drop on the balance sheet is experienced as a loss that diminishes us. Grounded in sufficiency, money's movement in and out of our lives feels natural. We can see that flow as healthy and true, and allow that movement instead of being anxious about it or hoarding. In sufficiency, we recognize and celebrate money's power for good, our power to do good with it, and we can experience fulfillment in directing it, the flow toward our highest ideals and commitments. When we perceive the world as one in which there is enough, and we are enough to make the world work for everyone, everywhere, with no one left out, our money carries that energy and generates relationships and partnerships in which everyone feels able and valued, regardless of their economic circumstances. Mother Teresa never kept any cash reserves. When I visited her at an orphanage in India, I asked her if she had any advice about fundraising. She replied that her method of fundraising was to pray, and that God had always provided what she needed, never more, never less. She operated with no reserves, trusting that God would always provide. And in her experience, God always did. She operated more than 400 centers in 102 countries, and they always seemed to have exactly what they needed. Not excess, not more, but not less either. Most of us can't imagine living in that way, and I'm not even suggesting it. But the knowledge that Mother Teresa operated a successful multi-million-dollar operation just that way makes you think anew about money and flow.
In our classic story today, Stone Soup, we heard the encounter between a hungry person saying, "What do you have to share?" and someone who said, "Oh, nothing. I have nothing. I have not even enough for myself, really," until prompted to think differently. Soup from a stone. Fancy that. In other versions of this story, it is not only one person and one household discovering what they have. Sometimes it is told as a story of a whole village. Everyone says, "We don't possibly have enough to help each other. We can't even feed ourselves," until that bubbling pot in the town square receives carrots from one household and onions from another, and suddenly there is a giant pot of soup, revealing the truth that when we can trust that what we have to contribute is worthy, there often is everything we need present among us. Now, I also want to tell you that if all this talk about soup is making you hungry, there is, in fact, a soup lunch following the service today. We believe in embodied metaphors in this congregation, so you can stay and eat soup after the service today. But, like these stories about bringing together our resources to make soup together, we have many lived experiences of bringing together what it is we each have to contribute, to discover that together we have enough to do what is ours to do. And we know something about this metaphor, money or resources being like water that flow in and out of our lives in different seasons. If you have ever had a garden, I think you know that the volume of zucchini in your life in August is not the same as the volume of zucchini in your life in February. It flows. If I asked you for fresh zucchini from your garden for soup today, you would say, I don't really have much. If I ask you in August, you will leave 6 bags of zucchini in my car and run away very fast because you will have too much zucchini. And we know this too, even from the natural world that we live in. There's an atmospheric river this weekend. There is more rain coming in than we know what to do with. And there are other times when we experience drought. These things ebb and flow. And this is part of what it is to be alive in this world. Lynn Twist reflects on money being like water as an invitation to us to travel down the spiritual path of abundance, rather than remaining stuck in a narrative of scarcity. Who, me? I can't help make soup. I don't have anything to give. Well, yes, I do. What is moving through my life that I have to give? How can I trust that there is enough? Probably we are never going to take this as far as Mother Teresa apparently did. To all the members of the finance committee in the room, I am not proposing we operate without financial reserves. And I am grateful to all those who have given to create an endowment fund, which may someday be a source of money that can even come into our operating budget. But it is true that every year we reconstitute the resources that enable us to be a presence in this community, to offer this space and these programs and this place of grounding, because each year members and friends of the congregation choose to join their resources to make this pot of soup. Now, the metaphor of being on a journey gets maybe overused. You may have seen or heard people in your life talk about all kinds of journeys, some of which you would say, is that really a journey? I'm on my writing journey. Okay. We used to call that morning pages or journaling, but sure. I'm on a health journey. I'm on a therapy journey. I'm on a spiritual journey. But even though this metaphor is widely used, it is a good one. Because, like the story of the monks and their peace procession, it reminds us that very little in our life is a static state that we arrive at and simply stay put in. I have not met anyone yet who says, well, on a Tuesday a couple years ago, I achieved perfect enlightenment, and I haven't had to work at it since. Oh, Corin has. Excellent. Most people don't say, well, I became endlessly compassionate when I was 27 years old. It's been great. No further maintenance required. And I learned everything. I am perfectly wise. Right? The nature of the world we live in is that life just keeps unfolding. And so we have to keep journeying with it, learning and practicing and growing. And when we gather in this community, one of the gifts that we can give to each other is to share these stories of our journeys, to let each other know a little bit more of what we are finding as our paths continue to unfold, and to trust that bringing those stories together is another way of sharing what we have, to create together once more this place of grounding and sustenance. So I'm going to invite Conrad to come up and share a personal story now about how this can unfold.
Okay, a short disclaimer up front. So I have a little bit of training in how to actually convey these stories, and one thing I learned in the process of learning about that was that sometimes my stories involve a certain amount of violence. And it's pretty easy to manage that as a group, in fact. It's really easy. So we can just start with 2 quick breaths. We can invite that energy into this room that doesn't normally live here, and then we can take 2 quick breaths to invite it on its way. And it grounds the rest of the story in some deeper understanding and better contrast. So we'll start there. Let's start with 2 breaths together. If you want the children to learn how to talk about money, we need to talk about it in front of them. Let's take 2 breaths out. Okay. Thank you. That was my baseline. That is the world that I grew up in. As the monthly bills came around, that was the common refrain. And I learned pretty early on, like, there are other narratives. But I didn't have a bunch of great sources to pull from, so I started with the common culture ones that we've alluded to before already, which is that, hey, maybe if you don't want to fight about having $0 in the savings account, maybe you should have more than $0 in the bank account. But that also came with the popular culture of understanding, like, well, maybe you should have more digits, more figures in the bank as well. And so naturally, that kind of became an alternative counter-narrative to the one that I would experience on a monthly basis. It was also driven home really early, in fact, in first grade, through a very all-American experience that also involved art. So you can imagine with me a picture of a beautiful bald eagle. Bold blue skies, crisp gold beak, full black adult plumage, and a white head. And that chalk pastel, the featheriness of it, really brought that paper to life. And then I won the art contest, and I had someone walk up and say, "Congrats, sir, here's your $100 and a bank account at the Air Academy Federal Credit Union to put it in." And at 6 years old, I was like, great. I know what I'm doing with that money, saving it. So that was what attached me to the first 3 figures, the first $100, right? And then I remember not much longer after that, I think it would have been about 8, I know I had over $1,000. And that was important because as the monthly malaise of the mortgage came along, I woke up and I looked over at my closet and I realized I have toys in there. And those toys cost money. And that's money that my parents don't have right now. And so I went and I literally kept the couple that I wanted, and I brought the rest to my mom and I said, if you can, sell them. If you can't sell them, give them away. And whatever you do, please don't buy me any more toys. Save it for the mortgage. Because I had connected the fact that my $1,000 was like half the mortgage of that month or thereabouts, and that was an important anchor point in my life. Because, then I went on and continued to get through the next couple of decades or so where I got to college. And that same $1,000 came back in a way that was, instead of trying to empower my family, I found it for me to be a sense of empowerment. Because the chaos that was my family was imploding behind me, and there was an experience where my dog and my youngest brother needed to come live with me while in college on a college budget. And I remember I had learned how to spend money, and I had learned how to budget the money. And that was the first time that I said, wait, it doesn't matter how many trips I have to skip. It doesn't matter how many bulk buys in food. It doesn't matter how many daily calculations I have to do just to figure out, will I make it to the end of the month? If I can hold on to that first 4 figures, somehow I'm going to be okay. And I know today that that is a position of privilege because I quickly graduated college and I quickly had the access to 5- and 6-figure incomes. But that 5th figure didn't really sink home until I got to the point where I could look at the money in the bank and say, wait, I could probably spend 5 figures. I could probably spend $10,000 and do something with that and still be okay. And that's when I started my first business. And I said, okay, for me, that was the right choice in my mid-20s because I was in a position where I learned that 5 figures is what it took to gain access to people who were worth 6, 7, and 8, and 9, and even 10, the billion figure. I worked for those people. I met them. I got to learn their stories. And I got to learn so much more about how money works in our modern day and age, how it should or shouldn't work, how it can and can't work. And it was ruminating on that after a couple of years of working through it that I had just moved to Oregon, going down the highway, and I got off the off-ramp, and I didn't understand at the time that this was not just a physical off-ramp. There was like a metaphysical element too. I got off the off-ramp, I'm in the wrong lane in terms of needing to take a left, and I noticed that there's an individual on the side of the road. I stopped because I was like, I know that person. Not that person specifically, but it sat with me in that moment because I said, I know who this person probably is, not just because of what they're wearing, not just because of the way they hold themselves, but because of also what's on their sign. And this gentleman was simply expressing the need for groceries. It was clear to me that he was blue collar. He was supposed to be on a job site somewhere, doing something with his hands, and the month wasn't going to make it, the money wasn't going to make it to the end of the month. So he was there asking for groceries. I, obviously, being in the wrong lane, I had to get back on the highway, go back up, loop around, try that same exit again, and be in the right lane. And I said, man, hop in, let's go. So we went to the grocery store. And it was in that grocery store that I confirmed, yes, this gentleman was a skilled tradesperson. He was also a father. And I knew talking to him that I was living in that position of privilege, because I was like, that would have been my story if I didn't have that opportunity to go to college. If a few small things had gone different early on, that would have been me on the side of the road. And I knew too that, having met the billionaires of the world, that it didn't really matter where I was now. If a few small things became a few big bills, I'd be right there with him. And I remember walking through, he was very respectful. He wanted 2 bags of food just to make it through to the end of the month. I remember he stopped. And he stopped and he grabbed one extra thing. And we both had that moment where we both knew what was happening. I said, just grab it, man. Because I remember being in that position too. I remember my parents coming home with that one extra thing that was a little too much for the budget, but that was important, not just for the kids, that was important for them too. So you can imagine, as I swiped that card, I said, that was a moment where I said, the 6th figure in the bank account wasn't going to matter for me if it wasn't going to be directly impacting my community every single time. And so that's the journey, that's the story that kind of brings me through to today, where I've understood so many more of our feelings around money, whether that is the shame, the guilt, or the silence, or often the loneliness that can be found when you have it or when you don't. And that's why I think today's theme, especially reading from an understanding where the purpose is to flow. In that flow, we find how we start to grow community. That's how we find how we shape our community, even if it's not growing. The point is, at the end of the day, us coming together to talk about that money, to engage in the process of creating community, it all starts with one thing, and that is taking the next step. Thank you.
Thank you, Conrad. This story is such a beautiful illustration of the journeys that each of us are on, the next steps each of us are invited into, and the fact that the act of giving can be empowering and it can be joyful for us to realize we have something to give that is needed. You may have seen other stories along these lines coming out, stories of mutual aid among the citizens of Minneapolis who are pooling resources to pay each other's rent, who are bringing mittens and warm coats to people who need them. Every time we discover that we have something to give that benefits our community, that enriches the lives of others, that is an opportunity for us to feel our power to make a world of more love, more justice, more peace. My colleague, the Reverend Kim Crawford Harvey, who for 35 years served a congregation in downtown Boston, always referred to the members of her congregation as beloved spiritual companions. And I love this phrase because this is what it means to be members of a congregation together. It means to be people on a journey together, on many individual journeys and one great collective journey and everything in between, who are trying to make real our values and our visions of a better world where all can thrive. So on this Sunday, as we open our pledge drive, I am grateful for you, beloved spiritual companions. Let us keep on this journey together.
We support UUCS through our pledges, our time, and our connections with one another. We support the Salem community through donations to the Marion Polk Food Share and, for the month of February, the Marion Polk Food Share. Marion Polk Food Share's mission is to bring people together to end hunger at its root causes. We distribute nutritious food for individuals and families to more than 100 local partners, including food pantries and meal sites, and deliver Meals on Wheels to homebound seniors and adults with disabilities. We operate an urban farm and support a network of community gardens that connect people and their food and mobilize community members to address systemic issues that lead to hunger. Thousands of local volunteers, advocates, and donors bring our mission to life every day. For those of you in person, you may donate food for the Marion and Polk Food Share into the Little Red Wagon. Monetary gifts may be placed in the offertory bags that will be passed, or by going to the website to donate. Thank you for maintaining the community of UUCS and for helping the wider community of Salem.
Will you join with me, please, in our words for giving thanks? They're up here and they're printed in your order of service. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our many gifts, including these offerings.
We take the light from our chalice, lighting the social justice lantern as a symbolic reminder of the light and justice that we carry out into the world. As we extinguish the chalices, let us hear these words by Elizabeth Selly Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth. the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
A couple quick things for your attention. There are announcements on the back of the order of service and in your email on Fridays, as always. This is your, once again, reminder. There will be soup in the fellowship hall when we have finished the service. Please come, be part of the lunch, be part of the start of this stewardship season. Watch for special activities throughout the next 3 weeks and for invitations to take a next step into trying something new in this congregation that you may not have tried out participating in yet. Second, next Sunday is somehow already March, and it will be the first Sunday of our 3 sessions of the Common Read for Families. So if you are someone with young ones in your life who would like to sign up to be part of those activities, there's a clipboard out there in the foyer, or you can email Molly, our Director of Religious Education, for information about that. And finally, we have a very special celebration today of some of the art and beauty that has flowed into the life of this community. So I'm going to invite Joel Martin up for a presentation and dedication of this gorgeous stained glass you may have noticed on your way in.
Good morning. I am a member of the former Committee on Ministry, along with Dina Trieste, Ruth Larson, and Rob Schiff. We worked closely with Reverend Rick on his goals over the years and assessing his work. We are also involved with him very closely as he considered retirement, when to retire, how to announce it, and so on. Also, it is customary for a congregation to provide a gift to a retiring minister, and whenever we asked Reverend Rick about that, he wanted to see a stained glass display in our entryway, not something for himself. So we contacted the stained glass artist who designed and installed the beautiful display that we've had for almost 30 years, and found that he's still around and available, and he was very willing to work on this project. The new stained glass was installed Wednesday, February 11th, as you have seen as you've entered the building since that date. The slide behind us shows the evening entryway on the display so that people online can see what we're talking about if they haven't been in the building. In this brief ceremony, we want to thank 2 people. One, of course, is Reverend Rick for his 30 years of service as our minister. He couldn't be with us today. He's planning to move eastward to be closer to his son, Zach, and family. The other is Gary, who did the work for this past year and is here today. We want to thank him for his work, his generous time and effort and creation, for what he's done for our building and for our congregation. And he will be available, along with his wife Nancy, in the fellowship hall for a while after the service if anybody wants to stop and chat. Thank you.
And now, I want to invite you to rise one final time in body, in voice, in spirit, to join in singing Love Will Guide Us. It's hymn number 131 in the gray hymnal, and as always, the slides are up here as well. And if you know it, feel free to set your hymnal down and start clapping or dancing or whatever you are moved to do.
Okay, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say,
We work well together.
let's move a little, you know? All right. Hit it, Queen. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, will inside us, will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot
you remain standing, I invite you to join me in saying our closing words, which are printed in your order of service. You can choose to join hands with those near you, touch elbows, or simply gesture towards each other. May faith in the spirit of life, hope for the community of earth, and love for the sacred in one another be ours now and in all the days to come. Blessed be. Yes. Excellent.